Cozy is combined with cats in the newly released Quilts and Cats of Calico. Now this one is a board game adaptation of the game Calico, which sees you try and make the ultimate cozy quilt and attract the most cats possible. In this video, I'm going to be giving a full review of the game, rating it from decaf to fully caffeinated. Without further ado, let's grind this game down and see how it brews. While this one is a board game adaptation and most of the gameplay does stay true to the original game, they've also added in a really cozy story mode to the game. You play as an aspiring quilter visiting your aunt, and you'll go up against progression and the industrial age as you learn quilting is being taken over by machinery. You'll need to prove that there's no replacement for handmade quilts by convincing the townsfolk your quilts are better than those made by the iron loom. So the story sees you complete different tasks for the townsfolk which aren't up against another player, so it definitely feels like more of a puzzle style of gameplay, and it definitely adds a lot of fun to the game. You can play the story completely solo, so it definitely fleshes it out and makes you feel like you don't have to be playing with someone or with AI to be able to play the game. The story itself is sweet and cozy and adds extra content and motivation to complete the different quilts. It really drives you to learn more about the gameplay and the different strategies that you can use in the multiplayer games, so I think they've done it in a really clever way. They've definitely added a lot more context to the gameplay through the time period and the overall setting of the game, which really adds to the whole game experience. And while it's not overly intricate, it really doesn't need to be for this style of game. So for story and world building, I'm rating Quilts and Cats of Calico as juiced. In this game, the general gameplay is definitely true to the original board game. You have a variety of different quilt patches that you need to strategically place to gain the most points. You have gold patches that see you get bonus points for completing the requirements listed on them. So for example, you might have a gold patch that is AA, BB, CC. So that means you need to get 3 different patterns and have 2 of each of them, and 3 different colors and have 2 of each of them. And if you satisfy those requirements, you get the extra points. You also have cats that will come and lay on your quilt if you meet the requirements, gaining you some extra bonus points and adding a whole lot of cute to the game too. And if that wasn't already enough, you can also add buttons to your quilt, which come with a sweet 3 points each as well. And you get those by combining 3 of the same color. You hold 2 quilt patches in your hand at all times, and you get to draw another patch at the end of each term with 3 different randomly generated ones to choose from. In the main gameplay, you go up against your chosen number of players, and the aim is to get the most points when you finish your quilt. So you can play against AI, or you can play online in this game and play against other real players as well. The story mode is a little bit different, and it sees you need to meet certain requirements to progress, so you might need to get a certain number of points or a certain number of buttons, that type of thing. And there's also the Master Quilters Challenge, which also needs certain requirements to be able to progress. There's definitely a lot of different play options, so you really can play how you like and mix it up as well, so you get a lot of variety from the gameplay. The cats are super cute, and I love that you can design your own in their cat designer, which is kind of random but amazing. And you can get them to walk around or make them sleep, and you can pat them too, which is just adorable. The actual controls and functions work really well in the game. I had minimal issues with game controls both on mouse and keyboard and on controller. I did have a couple of bugs, mostly in the story mode, with successful patterns not being recognized and therefore not being able to progress, which was a little bit frustrating. But I will say that the developers are very much working on fixing any bugs, and definitely report them because they are taking those reports seriously and they're actively trying to fix them all, which is really great. Overall, it's a really enjoyable game to play. So for game mechanics, I'm rating Quilts and Cats of Calico as juiced. The graphics of Quilts and Cats of Calico are bright and colorful, and they just look really nice. The differentiation between the patterns and colors is clear, and it definitely makes for some interesting quilts when you try to mix different patterns. I love the cute cat tokens and the buttons that you add to your quilts. I think they do definitely add a little bit of extra to it, and the cats are well designed and look so adorable, adding even more cozy to the game. The soundtrack definitely sets the cozy vibe and fits well with the theme of the game, and the sound effects add another layer to the game, particularly with the kitty sound effects, as well as sound effects for successfully completing combos and that kind of thing. The UI is pretty easy to understand and read. I do wish it was a little clearer what some of the requirements are for some of the goals or some of the cat requirements, but generally it's pretty good. Overall, the game is so cozy, and that definitely comes down to the amazing design of the game. So for graphic and sound design, I'm rating Quilts and Cats of Calico as fully caffeinated. caffeinated. Quilts and Cats of Calico definitely feels pretty unlike anything else. There isn't a whole lot of cozy board games out there of this style, and I think that the combination of the heavy strategy and puzzle elements in a cozy way is unique and interesting. It's definitely got some similar board game mechanics that are familiar, but the theme of quilts and cats definitely brings a cozy twist to the game. So for originality, I'm rating Quilts and Cats of Calico as fully caffeinated. Quilts and Cats of Calico is a cozy and sweet puzzle/strategy game. It's definitely a much loved board game for a reason, and the PC adaptation pays tribute to the board game version whilst also elevating it with the addition of the story. The design of the game definitely fits the cozy vibe, and the gameplay is fun and addictive. We've ground the beans, we've carefully weighed and pressed the grinds and brewed this game down. Now it's time for a taste test. Quilts and Cats of Calico is juice. Quilts and Cats of Calico is available now on Steam. You can find the link in the description below. The gameplay is essentially endless for this one, so it's definitely a lot of bang for your buck. And if you love a good board game style game, it's definitely worth checking out. Until next time, stay caffeinated.